The second thing I want to talk about in regards to closing is commitments. Basically, with your commitment, start with the biggest commitment first and then back down. With the biggest commitment first and then back down, right? We're getting to a place where we're like, we've done a great job at a sales presentation. The customer understands the problem that they face and the potential negative consequences if they don't choose to do anything, they choose to just keep things how they are. Like, if we've done a good job, enough of a good job at building out that problem gap, then what we'll want to do is we will want to focus on a commitment for them, right? And my hope is that this will help you start with the end in mind with your conversations. And that's another one that I would say is start with the end in mind. So let's talk about the end. What's the end goal of the conversation? And again, what is the commitment that we are extending to this customer or prospect so that we can move this sale forward? The commitment piece is big, right? We want the customer to commit to something after we've done such a good job at presenting this thing. That way we can get closer to the sale. That way we can advance the sale forward. But most importantly, that way we can actually solve the prospect's or the customer's problems. Now, some of you might be thinking like, oh, this sounds all salesy and all that. But at the end of the day, guys, like, we got to remember what we're actually doing with our sales role. And that is that we are helping people. Number one, we're helping people identify and find problems that they maybe didn't know that they had. And then number two, we are helping them solve those problems. So instead of selling people, we are helping people help themselves. And in doing that, anyone that cares about you is going to make sure that there is some sort of commitment that gets you to advance forward so that you, as the prospect or the customer, can get to a place where you actually get the coverage that you and your family want and need so that when something does happen, the mortgage is paid for, right? The surviving spouse and the kids, they don't have to be in a position where they have to struggle to pay those bills, right? That way the cars are paid off. That way income is replaced, right? Because losing someone's hard enough. But guys, sometimes we forget about what we do and how we help people. But I'm telling you that, again, once you get and remind yourself, and that's the key, remind yourself of how we're helping people, all of this stuff just starts to fit in place like puzzle pieces. And it becomes easier to gain these skills to be more influential and helpful in our conversations with our customers and prospects. And so what you do is important. Like, you are helping protect people's financial futures. You are helping ensure that if something and when something does happen, that there's a plan in place to have something there financially, right? Instead of just leaving it up for and hopes that everything's gonna be. So what you do is important. Don't forget that. But as far as commitment goes, I want to talk about just basically what I would suggest and something that just, it worked really well for me as a team member and is working for me in other areas right now in regards of commitment and closing. And it's starting with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind. So I'm going to give you basically from what's ideal as far as a commitment, and then a few other options if they don't go for that ideal commitment. And this kind of, again, it will give you a place to go next if they don't go for this initial commitment. All right, real quick, exciting news. We finally have the Win the Week weekly planners available for insurance team members. If you're in a sales position and you're in the insurance industry, I want you to know you've got unlimited things that you can do every single week, but you've got a limited resource of time. So what you choose to work on matters. My question is, are you using strategy or are you just flying by the seat of your pants hoping that you hit your goals, hoping that you end up working on the right things? Listen, if you want to get to that next level, if you want to sell more policies than you ever thought possible, if you want to make more money and have that bigger, fatter paycheck, start planning out your weeks. Take time every day, set aside to review your last week. Hold yourself accountable. Stop waiting for your agent to do that and just do it, right? Be proactive with your accountability. But then also make plans, make adjustments along the way so that you make sure that you're spending your time the best way, the most effective and efficient way possible, and you will work on the right things. And when you work on the right things, you'll start to sell more. So again, Win the Week weekly planner for team members is available. Check the comments below for a link to purchase, and we'll get you back to the training. The first one here is going to be, we want to get them to do and agree to do the application. We also want to get them to agree to basically sign the application, get a signature, and we want to collect the money. Like in an ideal world, if you can get the application completed with the customer, get a signature from them, and collect money, think about that type of a commitment. They are probably way more likely to pick up the phone and do the phone interview, schedule the physical, because they have already done the application, signature, and money. They're a little bit invested in this. And that's what we want to do, the commitment. More of a commitment that we can get it from a customer or prospect, the more likelihood that we have of closing that deal. Now, let's say that you try to get the application and they do the signature, but they're like, I just don't have the money today. Don't stop there. Just be like, not a problem. Go for the second part, which is just the application and the signature. Collect the money when they're able to make the payment. Don't let the fact that they can't pay you today keep you from submitting the application and signature. Again, we want some sort of commitment out of them. Now, if you want to be proactive with this, I would, with step number 2, if you don't collect the money, at least communicate with your customer or prospect and find out when they would be able to pay the money. Because again, the more that we can get them to commit, the easier it will be for us to help them get this thing fully submitted and closed in the coverage in place. Now, let's say that they still like, Colter, I just want to think about it. I don't think I'm ready to do that. A few things that you can use is use a pullback, right? To get this application signature done. Look, totally understand. Hey, just so you know, like we may not even be able to help you because you have to qualify for something like this. Like it's a pullback. I don't even know if I can help you. The way to know if you do qualify is to submit an application and get a signature. Like it's a pullback, but it's another way to go in for that close to get them to do that commitment. Now, if you're quoting term insurance, like you're quoting a lot of death benefit, one pro tip that I would suggest using is to quote your customers and prospects the standard rates as well as the very best rates that you and your company can offer them. Because at the end of the day, if you can do that and you say, hey, Mr. Customer, if we did this, the standard rate would be about $100 a month, but my very best rate, if you did qualify, would be about $65 a month. Just by me simply telling them what the standard rate is and the very best rate, what happens here? What do you think is going through your customers or your prospects' minds? What do you think they're going to be asking you or saying to you after that? I'll tell you from experience, they're going to say, how do I know that I can get the $65 a month price instead of the $100, right? Glad you asked. The way to know is we submit an application, we get a signature, and we get the underwriting process started. Again, we may not even be able to help you, but that is how we'll know what rate you get. Now, let's say that again, they're like, I don't think I'm ready to do that. I still need to talk to my spouse. This is aside the fact, I'm not going to go into overcoming that objections and strategies to do that. But let's say that they're like, I just want to talk to my spouse, or I need to think about it. And they're just like adamant that they don't want to do the application signature. They're not quite ready yet. A lot of you might just, I'll follow up with you, but I would encourage you to do this third level of commitment, which is going to be set an appointment. Set an appointment. When I mean set an appointment, have a date and time. It's very important. When you can't just say, oh yeah, I'll call you next week. Narrow down a day and a time where you're going to have an appointment. And if they don't want to do an appointment, I would start with an appointment because for whatever reason, an appointment seems like a bigger commitment than like a phone call. Even though you'd probably do the same type of thing in an appointment that you would do on a follow-up phone call, the words that we use matter, and we want to, again, start with the bigger commitment. And if they're not wanting to do that, then we work down. So I'd set an appointment. If they don't want to do like an appointment, then just set a follow-up call. But again, if you choose to set an appointment or a follow-up call, it is very important to nail down a date and a time if you want to give yourself and your prospect and customer the best shot at winning. So guys, closing is something that happens at the very beginning of the conversation. And my advice, right, what I would say to focus on is to always be disarming your customers and prospects from the get-go, right? Because the moment that sales resistance is triggered, they're checked out of that conversation. They don't want to be sold today. And can you blame them? Like the way that people want to buy is changed, right? How people buy now has changed dramatically over the years. Think about it. How long have we had these fancy, nifty smartphones? Not very long, like in the grand scheme of things. Guys, I'm gonna be 29 in August. My goodness, crazy. But like in high school, they didn't have these smartphones. At least I don't think so. Or at least junior high, like they didn't have these smartphones. People didn't have the ease of access to browse the internet like they do now. People that like Facebook wasn't really a big thing. Instagram wasn't really a big thing. And so like at the end of the day, guys, think about what the first thing that most people do when they wake up in the morning is. They open up this bad boy, open up social media, and they start scrolling. And about 3 posts in, they're hit with an advertisement. Someone's trying to sell them something. And they scroll some more, another advertisement. And then guess what? You get in your car or your truck and you drive to work and you throw on that radio and you're jamming out to some classic rock or some country or rap or whatever you get into. And a couple songs in, you're hit with an advertisement. So my point, guys, is people are being sold all day long, multiple times a day. And so if we're just going to stick with the old techniques of selling, I feel like we're going to be missing out on a lot, right? Then it's like sales is only a numbers game because like you don't have the skills to disarm the prospect and get them to a place where they can emotionally open up to you and really get deeper, get more like below surface level. Because at the end of the day, most of you are having conversations with your customers around life insurance, but you're getting surface level responses from people. And the reason for that is because you haven't quite learned the skill to get people to emotionally open up to you. One of the big reasons might be that you're triggering the sales resistance. So again, if you want to get better at closing, work on always be disarming your prospects. So again, like if you want to get better at closing, always be disarming. And so always be disarming. And then the last thing here is start with the end in mind. Understand what the end goal is, which I think in order of what I would recommend doing first is get the application signature and money if you can. If they're not able or wanting to do that, then at least get the application and signature. And if for whatever reason they're just hesitant and they don't want to do that, then set an appointment with a date and time or a follow-up call with the date and time. So guys, appreciate you tuning in. If you're a team member listening to this and you're like hungry, like I was as a team member, like I wanted to go and make a name for myself. I wanted to get results that top producers were getting. I wanted to be in the top 1%. If you're at that point as a team member and you just want to do better, reach out to us and join our community. Get around top producing peers like you and pick their brains, learn from them, but come and learn and train with us. We meet twice a week virtually. It's a great place to come in and plug in and just recharge, but the stuff you will learn will take you to the next level and you will continue to improve, without a doubt in my mind. And if you're an agent listening to this and you want that for your team, please reach out. We would love to have you guys. Just love to have a conversation and see if this is something, our group, see if it's something that might be a good fit for you guys and might be the ticket to get you and your agency to that next level. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day.